The services discussed in this video are against Jagex terms of service. Selling or buying the services discussed will result in your account getting permanently banned. Similarly, unauthorized clients or plugins are also against the rules and will also result in a permanent ban. Do not engage in any of these activities. Jagex recently released Desert Treasure 2, and with it, 4 brand new bosses to tackle. We've got Vardorvis, the Duke, the Whisper, and the Leviathan, all offering players a challenging fight for a chance to get some incredibly strong drops. But Jagex took it a step further and also added awakened versions of each of these bosses. These are essentially hard mode +++ variations intended to be inferno level difficulty encounters. In fact, they're so challenging that players are only tasked with defeating each one just a single time in order to get the reward. And what is this reward, you might ask? A cosmetic kit that changes your normal newbie Torva armor into the Blood Torva set. At this moment, there's not many gamers who've managed to complete this challenge. This is, after all, intended to be the hardest PVM challenge in the game. You'll probably recognize names like Sync, Adicon, and Porkazard from this World First list. Essentially, anyone with Blood Torva right now is a 0.001% Grandmaster tier PVMer. Or so I thought. Literally just a few days after the release of Desert Treasure 2, I received a tip-off that Blood Torva cosmetic kits were already being sold on the black market. Now, before I get into what's happening here and how much these black market service providers are charging for Blood Torva, we need to talk about the Jagex terms of service. As it stands at the time of making this video, services fall into one of 2 buckets. Leech services, where the customer plays with boosters to get something like a combat achievement speedrun time, or login services, where someone is actually playing on your account for you, so something like the Inferno. Leech services are currently within the rules of the game, but login services are definitely not. In fact, we've seen Jagex ban players time and time again for these types of services. Historically, login services would mean providing someone with your account details and letting them log in to do the content for you, but that's evolved to remote services, where essentially a seller connects to your PC with an application like Parsec or TeamViewer and plays through that connection. This remote method makes it harder to detect since the customer's IP isn't actually changing. This has emboldened a lot of sellers, which is why there are now dozens if not hundreds of providers offering to complete content like the Inferno for the right price. Again, I want to reiterate that this is against the rules, despite what a seller might tell you. Now that you understand how this is happening, let's jump back to Blood Torva. I was absolutely expecting that this would become a black market service, but I was shocked at how fast it came to market. Initially, I thought, well, maybe these are just scammers pretending to sell Blood Torva in order to scam customers. And while I'm sure there's plenty of those too, the screenshots that I was sent were from one of the most well-known sellers of black market services. And after I looked into it, I can confirm Blood Torva is in fact already being sold on the black market and for prices upwards of max cash for clears of all 4 awakened bosses. But there was something else that I found very interesting. The people selling these might not be true grandmasters like Adicon or Mulgoat Kirby like you see on screen now, but rather just people with access to the right cheat client plugins. This is a screenshot that I was sent of someone using an auto prayer switcher for Leviathan. I suspect that a lot of black market sellers are leveraging similar plugins, meaning that the customers who purchase kits are not only risking everything by trusting the seller to play on their account, but also potentially risking a macro ban. Although Jagex has remained fairly quiet on the subject of whether they'll ban Blood Torva kit sellers and buyers, I have heard that the person in the screenshot using cheat plugins has been permanently banned. You know, for something like Infernal Capes, I guess buyers are at least paying for a best in slot item that's going to provide them with some utility in game, but for a Blood Torva kit that's purely a cosmetic, people are literally paying above max cash just to lie to everyone else about how good they are at PVM. That's pretty sad if you ask me. And as is always the case, this is just going to get worse, and it will probably devolve into a high number of the Blood Torva kits that you see in game having been purchased on the black market. That really bums me out, because it makes having prestige items in the game effectively meaningless. And while it's certainly in human nature to cheat to get ahead, this is why we can't have nice things. Hopefully Jagex will have issued some sort of statement by the time this video releases, but whether or not they'll be taking any action against Blood Torva sales, that remains to be seen. Consider leaving a like and subscribing if you made it this far, and I've got some RuneScape Underground videos on the way that you will not want to miss. As always, thank you so much for watching.